Welcome to the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That, and founder of The Great Reconnection. And have with me today my co-pilot, Monu Singh. Monu, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. We were just talking before we got on here about a topic I believe we've covered before, but it's really been coming up a lot for people. And how do you know the difference between longing and wounding? And how do we navigate pain and differentiate the ache of longing from the pain that's associated with a wound and danger or harm? Because longing isn't harmful. It's life-giving and it's generative. And a wound is associated with some kind of impact or harm. It is, whether it's psychological, emotional, or physical. I think physical wounds, while they can be hard to heal, have a clear pathway to healing. And I think the more invisible wounds take a little bit of different kind of work. But we're going to read from this book. It's called It's Deeper Than That, which you can find on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads. You can also listen to it. And you can get into the book portal where you have a journaling workbook you can use. You have teaching videos and meditations. So in the chapter, Longing versus Wounding, Know the Difference, this is at the end of the chapter, and then we'll read about wounding and we'll read about longing, and then we'll have a little discussion. But it says here, having your own way of knowing the difference helps you choose, because we want to be able to choose. Is this actually longing or is this wounding? Remember, wounding signals danger. Longing signals remembering. So one has a feeling of threat and danger, and one has remembering and returning. So longing signals remembering and returning. And we want to remember and return because we feel a distance from that remembering, and that's the ache of separation. So there is an ache associated with longing, and there's pain associated with wounding, but there are different kinds of pain. And sometimes when the ache of longing comes up, we get confused and we start going, oh, it's dangerous. So we don't follow our own impulse to returning and remembering. And so it says in the book, it's important to uncouple any association with the ache of longing from danger, so that when we begin to feel our own homesickness, we don't think it's dangerous. And we use that homesickness to turn our attention inward, to return and remember to the truth of who we are. And it says here, instead, see longing as a gift to serve you. Your longing will guide you to the positive pole of your soul where you are welcomed home. So I'm going to read a little bit about longing and a little bit about wounding, and then I'll ask Monu how she knows the difference. Longing is directional and purposeful. Longing is directional and purposeful. It's the incoming current in the battery, so it does have a direction of returning. And the purpose is to return and remember towards the soul. It's a yearning ache for deeper contact with your true self. Longing is associated with the incoming current of the wireless system. When you join longing with introspection, and the reason why I put introspection in there is that you're turning your attention inward. So you're understanding the direction and purpose of the longing, and then you're turning attention inward. You return to and remember your inner radiance. Longing is not associated with an experience, a person, or a situation. It's an absence that nothing in this world will alleviate. So no job, no position, no relationship, no food. And yet, if you let it, longing may serve as a generative impulse. So that's longing. So let's look at, I mean, there's a sweet ache here. It's very, I find longing beautiful, heartacheful and beautiful and just lovely. But now let's talk about wounding. Wounding is constricting usually and associated with any kind of harm, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, or psyche. What happens is that it goes into the mind with things like shame, self-deprecation, unworthiness, unlovability, self-hatred. So wounding takes on narratives, takes on thought forms that are not connected to the soul currency. They're generated out of a way to understand a wound, which you can't really understand. So you make up things about yourself that the impact is about you. And then it becomes, once again, shame, self-deprecation, unworthiness, unlovability, self-hatred. And it says, these thoughts take on a life of their own, abandoning the wisdom and inherent knowledge inside of you. These thoughts from the wounding begin to dominate, and then they become the point of reference for all future events. Wounding begets wounding. So I see Monu shaking her head there. So when we talk about longing, being purposeful and directional, and having a void or an absence that nothing in this world can take care of, and then the pain of wounding, which wounding begets wounding. Would you talk for a little bit about, how you do navigate those differences within yourself and the challenges of navigating those differences?
I feel like this is a place that I'm constantly in.
Hmm.
I think, because the intensity of my longing is so uh, deep and strong that it is easy for me, as I'm sure for many people, to confuse the intensity of my longing with the intensity of my wounding, because both are strong and living in me. But what I'm learning to do slowly is try to approach the sensations with curiosity and neutrality and feel like, you use the word introspection, like turn my attention inward and notice what I'm actually feeling beyond just the intensity. Am I feeling a constriction? Or am I feeling like a vastness and an expansiveness? Am I feeling like I have no voice here? Or do I feel like there is freedom, spaciousness that allows me
Mm.
to be an expression of myself? And
Hmm.
um, it's not easy, especially for those of us who associate that intensity with danger. But it just feels like this daily exploration is, for me at least, like the only way that I can begin to liberate myself from my wounding. And like you said, the longing is directional and move in that direction, returning to source and allowing the energy that's flowing through me to flow more easily and without restriction, uh, so that I can be in the fullness of myself and still stay with an intensity that is actually life giving, um, rather than one that is intense and diminishes me in some way.
Yeah, I appreciate your vulnerability and your honesty here about like the wounding feeling dangerous and threatening and diminish like taking away your voice or diminishing your expression or constricting yourself inside and not feeling your own spaciousness or radiance. And it is a tricky thing to navigate within ourselves. And I think knowing the difference helps us have a choice. And I appreciate what you said about introspection and observing so you can choose, pausing. And do you have narratives, if you're willing to share, like narratives that connect to your wounding that like
Yeah.
scream at you? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, I think that, you know, historically there's been a lot around perfectionism and feeling like, you're falling short or feeling like I'm falling short in some way.
Mm.
Like ironically, like gets in my own way of being like the more that I want to be,
Oh,
that when I start, we've talked about a lot of different things now, but when my mind starts looping in that pattern, it's even more immobilizing for me. So it's like, you know, being able to pause and choose something else actually moves me towards greater action.
yeah, I think what you're saying is what the book says, like wounding begets wounding. So, like, see, you
Absolutely.
didn't, you could have done better. See, it's not perfect enough. And see, what are other people going to think? And what do you think? And then and then everything gets referred to through see, and then
Right.
you really can't breathe. It gets immobilizing. And so I think the constriction versus the spaciousness, or what are your thoughts actually directed towards yourself? Are your thoughts kind? If your
Right.
thoughts are not kind, I can guarantee you're going to be in your wounding and not in your longing, because your longing is it's a it's a yearning. It's it's a yearning that's it's got the sweetest ache to it that's demanding. It's demanding. And it gets intense for sure, and it's rewarded. Wounding just gets more wounding. I guess it gets rewarded with wounding. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't bring us towards liberation. Let's put it this way. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom and your vulnerability here today. We are on Wisdom Wednesdays. I know you might not be listening to it on a Wednesday, but we are calling it Wisdom Wednesdays. Every other week, we take a gem of something to just share with you all so you can explore inside yourselves what we're exploring inside of ourselves, with it's deeper than that, and the great reconnection to our deepest self. And we'll be back with you again in 2 weeks. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners, Monu?
I just wish them all well in their own exploration.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for listening here with us for the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm Suzanne Roberts, your host, once again, author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of The Great Reconnection, and longing for myself and all of us to reconnect to the power and radiance that's always residing within us. Thank you for listening.